Hey there, it's Kenzie from Details to Enjoy, and today I'm going to be making our wood plank monogram kit, taking it from this to this. For this project, I'm going to be using white paint, dark wax, a sanding sponge, a painting sponge, a water cup, 2 sponge brushes, a paint tray, and a hot glue gun. I'm starting off with everything that I'm going to be painting white. That's the monogram, the insert, and one of the flat wood pieces. The paint color I'm using is Silky White by Behr. When painting, I always work in thin light coats and tap off most of the excess paint from my brush. With white paint especially, you're generally going to need to do a couple of coats, so I'm just working on getting my first coat applied to all of my pieces. When painting the insert, I keep the inside of the circle black, and I work with my paintbrush going towards the circle to avoid any paint getting over the edge. If I do get any paint on my edges, I will typically just wipe it up with my finger, or if it's dried on too much, I may need to use an alcohol wipe or a sanding sponge. I'm also keeping the edges of my letter black. Once the first coat of paint is dry, I can go in with my second coat. The number of coats will vary from project to project, but for this I ended up doing 4 coats on my insert and 2 on my other 2 pieces. I decided I wanted this plank to be white as well, so I just did 1 quick coat on this. Next, we'll be painting 2 of the flat planks with the color wash method. So for this, I have a painting sponge, which I will need to rehydrate to make it nice and soft. And then I can use that to add a few drops of water to my paint. I'm going to use the sponge to mix together the water and the paint until I'm happy with the consistency, and by thinning down the paint, this is going to allow the texture and the wood grain of the plank to show through. If the paint is too thick, you may need to add more water, and if it's too thin, you can always add more paint. You can use this technique with any color to get some really fun results. Now I can move on to waxing. I'm going to be using the BB Frosh Dark Wax. I'm going to be waxing the striped plank that we painted white, one of the color washed flat planks, and this plank that has the raised dot detail. I'm going to be using a clean sponge brush. You could also use a wax cloth, but I'm just going to get a little bit of product onto the sponge brush and rub that into my wood piece. I'm making sure to get the wax into all of the details of the plank. With wax, you want to make sure that you're rubbing it into the wood versus letting it just sit on top of the wood. Once we have the wax applied, we're going to use a clean part of the brush to remove the excess wax. You want your piece to feel smooth and not tacky. Try to get all of the excess wax removed from the grooves of the plank. Now I just need to repeat those same steps for my other 2 planks. Next, I'm going to give everything a quick sand with my sanding sponge. I'm going to start with the white pieces. So with my white insert, I'm just going to hold the sanding sponge flat against the insert and sand lightly. Then to add a little bit of distressing on the inner part of the circle, I'm going to hold the sanding sponge at about a 45-degree angle. To prevent getting wax on the other pieces, I'm going to make sure to sand all of the white before moving on to the wax pieces. You don't typically need to sand wax pieces, but I wanted to add some distressing. Once everything is sanded, use a clean dry rag to wipe away any sanding dust. I have all of my planks lined out in the order I want to attach them. You can do these in any order, but I do suggest having 3 of the flat planks in the center so that your letter can sit flat against the insert. To attach the planks, I'm going to be using this adhesive square. So first I need to start off by removing one side of the protective backing. Then I'm going to place it in the center of my engraved square. This doesn't need to be perfect, so you can just eyeball it. Once I'm happy with the placement, I'll make sure to smooth it down and make sure that it is nice and stuck to the insert. Now I will peel up the other side of the protective backing, making sure that the sticky part is staying connected to the insert. Starting with my first plank, I'm going to line it up with the top edge of my engraved square. Then I will place each of the planks, making sure to press them into place. Next, I'm going to place my circle cutout insert on top of the planked insert, making sure they're lined up, and this will help me place my letter in the center of the circle. Then I will use the peel and stick backing to attach my letter to my insert. I'll place it gently first and then make any adjustments if I need to, and then press it firmly. To assemble the flower, I'm going to start on the outside edge of the spiral. Then, working from that end, I'm going to start rolling my flower. This tight center will be the center of the flower, and then as you keep wrapping, it'll start to flatten out a little bit, creating the open flower shape. If you're unhappy with the shape, you can always unroll it and rewrap it. At the end of the spiral, there's a little tab, and this is what you're going to use to glue everything together. So just add a dab of hot glue to the center of that tab, and then press it into the back of the flower. Next, you will attach the felt leaf trio to the back of your flower by adding a dab of hot glue and then gently pressing the leaves into the hot glue, making sure to not burn your fingers. Before attaching your flower to your insert, I recommend putting it into a frame first. This is one that we waxed earlier. So I'm just going to put the circle insert into the front track and the planked insert into the back track. Putting your inserts into a frame first will ensure that you don't glue your flower too close to the edge of the insert so that it will interfere with the tracks. To attach the flower, I'm just going to use another dab of hot glue on the back of the flower. You can place this flower anywhere you'd like. We placed ours in the lower right-hand corner. Because there's a little bit of wiggle room in the frames from side to side, if it's not looking centered, you can just shift over the insert a little bit. And that is my finished project. If you guys have done your own version of this project, we would love to see it, so be sure to tag us on social media. We're Details to Enjoy on Facebook and Instagram.